Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy.
Kyle Amundsen.
And it has been a minute since we have gotten together.
What has it been, a month?
Yeah, pretty close. Actually, I don't remember when the last one was. But, as COVID is raging out there across the Crow Wing.
And I'm hiding out in my lab, feverishly working on a cure.
Yes. How's that going?
Good.
Really?
I can't tell everyone how good for, OPSEC, but yeah, it's. I think I've just about got it licked.
Okay. Well, good. Well, when you're ready to inject, let's find somebody else to start with.
Absolutely.
Never want to be the first.
Just driving around rounding up test subjects.
Right. Well,
with your van.
With my van, which is good because the Land Rover is on the limb. What is that called when it's laid up? It's got a dinged wing. Oh. So it's nothing. I think I maybe mentioned it the last time, but
I thought it accumulated some snow.
Well, I thought, yeah, son of a bitch, snow, fuck. I thought I blew the head gasket, but it was just a little leak in the coolant system, and I fixed it. It took me all fucking day one day, and then I was all happy again.
So you found coolant in your oil?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's still just the same thing because I didn't buy the new part. I just used some gasket maker and did it, and now it's leaking again. So I'm gonna have to actually get the right part and spend some time with it. But of course, it fucking snowed a foot, so that just really puts a cramp in my style.
Yeah, fall was nice.
Fall
really
didn't
fall,
even happen.
But,
it was like 15 minutes of fall.
Yeah, that was a good day.
It was like, leaves are pretty. Fucking foot of snow. I
was not ready.
I am totally not ready. Yeah.
I mean, I got my surgery like that was one of the things. That was one of the reasons I got it when I did, because I'm like, okay, I need to get this out of the way early because I need to be able to shovel snow and stuff. Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Well, that's what Christine's for.
Right? And, and my son.
And Boo Boo.
Him too.
Yeah. It's time for him.
My other son.
Time for him to start shoveling snow. Yeah, I've been feverishly trying to get my shop cleaned out and working feasibly, so I can actually pull a vehicle in and work on it. But man, I just have accumulated so much shit that I am really at the point where I'm like, if I haven't seen this fucking thing in 6 months, I don't need it anymore, and I am gonna throw away and give away a ton of crap. So I'm actually accumulating a pile of tools for your lovely wife that I'm both. Shit, I didn't want to say that because she's gonna fucking watch this. Well, happy whatever, Christine. But
I was just watching I watched a video, because I watch a lot of fucking YouTube these days, and I watched like what kind of tools should I have around and stuff. What kind of stuff should I learn how to use? And there was a guy, a big do-it-yourselfer that's got a YouTube channel, and he was like, 2 power tools. Those are your essentials. So you can get a long way with a circular saw and an 18-volt cordless drill.
Yeah, those are important.
He's like, those are the 2. He's like, that's really all you need, for fucking most people's purposes. And I'm like, check. Well, not check. I haven't checked them off the list yet. Because I have a great drill that I never use, and it's a corded one. Yeah. So I don't have to worry about charging it, plugging it in and shit. But that's bullshit. I'm gonna have to pick a couple of those up.
Yeah, I'll make a recommendation for a power for a cordless system. So I was shopping for Meta's birthday. It was October 6th, and so I don't know. I'm not a great gift giver, honestly. I'm really not. But if I am reminded by her mother 3 days before to go shopping, but I always try to make something. and that's like the real gift. And then I try to get something that's actually like a little more practical.
Sure.
So I made her some Maleficent horns, which turned out okay. They're a little crooked. They are fucking frustrating as hell,
You
man.
know, don't cop to that. Just tell her it's her head that's crooked.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. But they turned out pretty cool. Made them out of foam and fucking bondo, and it was. Plus, I had to do it like on the DL, so she was. Yeah, so the 3 days before her birthday, she was getting a little pissy with me because I was constantly disappearing and locking myself in the craft room.
She thought you were at one of your topless after bar parties.
I'm sure that's what she thought. But I was trying to think of something practical to get her, and I decided I wanted to get her a set of her own power cordless, tools. So I just got her a drill and impact. But I was shopping around on them. So I have been locked in to Ryobi for fucking a decade because it was the first real cordless system that I started buying, and you just kind of get stuck because it's the battery system you have. And I probably have 30 batteries for my Ryobi. So for me to change to a different system is really, really difficult. But I didn't want to get a Ryobi because, well, honestly, they would just become my Ryobis. You know what I mean? They're green. They're mine. That's it. So I was shopping around, and I decided on a Harbor Freight brand.
Really?
Yeah, they're called the Hercules series, and I had just bought a corded angle grinder from them, because I burn up angle grinders like nobody's business. And if you haven't used an angle grinder, I mean they go at a super high RPM, and so like the motor gets hot and the fuckers burn up, and I burned up so many of them that I can't even count them anymore. And I had a project I needed to do. Well, actually, when I was cutting off PJs, I don't want him to listen to this because he'll like feel responsible, but it wasn't his fault. It's my fault. But when I was cutting off the hook, I burned up my angle grinder, and when I did it, I didn't even like. I just like because I had another one. I just switched him out, and like he didn't even know, right? And I didn't want him to feel bad about it, and he shouldn't. Because
I don't think he watches this anymore.
I'm sure he doesn't. But so I went and bought this beefy fucking angle grinder from Harbor Freight, and they have, if you're a member, which I'm a member of Harbor Freight, they have the fucking best warranty plan ever. It was like 12. It was a $200 angle grinder, and for like $12, it's a you walk in the door, hand us the angle grinder, and we just hand you another one, no questions asked. Period. Like it doesn't matter if you dropped it in the toilet. This is coming from the guy at Harbor Freight, so this is probably not legally binding on their part. But yeah, and I talked to a few other people about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's fucking awesome, man! Like I have this generator, and I run that fucking thing, and then I just like right before the warranty's up, I make sure it doesn't work anymore." This is horrible shit to say, but hey, Harbor Freight, great fucking warranty. So I bought the warranty. I've never bought an extended warranty before, so and so we'll see, because if this fucking angle grinder works in 2 years, it will be the best angle grinder I've ever had.
I was just in there buying shit the other day. I bought some tarps for my prepper stash, and I bought
Yeah.
uh,
Tarps and
mo-
duct tape and rope.
oh,
Just the basics.
and yeah, and, moving blankets and shit like that. I'm like, well, I need that too. Like fucking. Yeah, I do like that store. That's where I bought my safe.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Well, and they have quite a few different lines of tools, but the Hercules brand is their kind of their flagship, their most expensive one, and their whatever. Anyway, going full circle. So I decided I was going to buy her these 12-volt Hercules. It was a corded or a cordless drill and a cordless impact, and they are the bomb. So I have an 18-volt Ryobi, and that's a pretty beefy. But these are 12 volts, so they're a little bit smaller, much more compact. And I thought they were actually cute. That was part of the reason. They're blue and they looked good, and I thought they would be. But they have a shit pile of power. They're relatively inexpensive, and I was pretty impressed with it. So if you're looking, I would look at those. And they have everything. That's another thing I like about Harbor Freight is that they, well, or just whatever, but that line, like you can get anything you need in that particular one, and all the batteries are interchangeable. And another thing that's really cool is they have 12 volt and 18 volt. It may even be 24 volt, but regardless. And the charger is interchangeable between them, which is really fucking nice. Which that's very rare. So, yeah. So I thought it was pretty cool. I was impressed with it. So that's my not a word from our not sponsor, Harbor Freight.
Your endorsement.
Yeah, I'm a junkie, man. That place is going to be the death of me. So before we started, we were talking about how we didn't have a whole lot to talk about. Actually, I have quite a bit though, but that we needed to do this because you needed therapy. You needed your therapy.
Yeah, and because I mentioned like, yeah, I just need to, like I need the therapy, and then I said not that anything is going poorly, things are going good, and then you
I chided you.
Yeah, you said that's when a person goes to therapy,
Right.
And I'm like, and I had never really thought about that, like.
Have you ever been to therapy?
No.
Really? I suggest it.
Well,
I mean, this
see,
kind of maybe is it, but
I have my there's a lot of stuff in my routine that just keeps me on an even keel.
Right.
And I don't and I don't have a lot of, I don't know. I don't think I have any. I think all that stuff is enough for me, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good, but and this really, as much as I mean, it's not. We don't have a couch and shit, but this really is what therapy is. I mean, all therapy really is an intimate conversation with somebody who cares enough to listen. The weird part is they're getting paid to do it, so this might even be more important. But I agree that we would need to do this as often as we need to do this, because without it, I feel like there is something like missing from my life. And I also feel like I hold on to stuff I want to talk about it here.
Oh,
and then
of course,
if too much time passes, that stuff just gets lost, and I never talked about it.
Yes.
And I'm like, shit, and
you think about it later, and it's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Now should I write that down because it's kind of getting dated?
Right. It's not important anymore. But I've been to therapy many times, not many times, but several times in my life. I've ended up in therapy, and I think it's important for people to like who maybe are in a spot where they're not doing great and they think that they don't. There's like some kind of stigma against therapy or whatever. But I gotta tell you, like therapy definitely saved my life. I was just 18, just turning 18 years old, and I have a pretty weird and fucked up life arc. And I'm not going to get into the full extent of it, but basically from the time I was 16 on, I didn't live with my parents. I jumped around, and I spent quite a bit of time actually living at the O'Neill household, which we had talked about before. But at this point, I'm living on my own in an apartment with a couple of friends that I'm in a fucking humongous fight with. It's a really funny story, actually. So I had two roommates. They were a couple, and yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna tell who. So it was my buddy Elijah Kramer. I'm still friends with him today, and his girlfriend Jody. I don't know Jody's last name, but she was cool too. And since then, we've gotten together, but we did not get along at the time. And Jody had an eating disorder. Okay, she was like a person who would go for a while without eating, and then she would like binge and like eat everything in the house. And they would get into it over fairly often, and I was pretty in my own world and my whatever. So I walk into the apartment one day, and they're in a fucking battle, and Elijah says to me, "Did you eat the ho-hos?" And I'm like, "Did I eat the ho-hos?" And he goes, "Yeah, did you eat the fucking ho-hos?" And I was like, "Dude, I don't know what you're talking about." And he goes, "I bought a whole box of ho-hos, and they're gone." And I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "Well, did you eat them?" And I said, "Okay, let's just look at this logically. You got me or your girlfriend with the fucking eating disorder. Which one of us do you think ate the fucking ho-hos?" And she's sitting there on the couch, and he goes, "Did you?" And anyway, and then it was on like Donkey Kong, and so we were like in this fucking fight, which really just turned into I wouldn't come out of my bedroom, so I would literally enter and exit from my window, and like I just wouldn't have, so it wasn't the healthiest situation in the world, but I started to get more and more kind of just depressed, but I didn't really understand exactly what was going on. I just didn't feel good ever, and I didn't really know why. So I ended up going in to a counselor, and I like opened up the fucking, this is a long time ago. I opened up the like yellow pages, and I was looking under counseling, and it said, for depression, suicidal thoughts, and anxiety. And so I called the number and was like, yeah, I would like to see a counselor. And they're like, okay, what's going on? And I said, I have depression, suicidal thoughts, and anxiety. And they were like, okay, well, how about next Wednesday? So I go in, and it was a really interesting experience. So I go in, and I'm going to see this therapist or whatever. And the guy who is sitting at across the desk, he's a young guy, and he's like, okay, so we're booked up, and they don't really have a therapist.
Oh wait, was that when the guy that wasn't really?
Yeah, he was an intern.
Yeah.
So it was like this guy.
That was many episodes ago that
we did talk about. So I go in, and this guy is like,
and he did a great job.
He did a great job. Yeah, he was an intern. He wasn't actually a therapist, and he asked if it would be okay if he taught. And I said, "Fuck, I'm good. Let's." So here's what's going on, and so I end up going to this guy for 6 weeks. Once a week for 6 weeks, and at the end of this time period, he says, "Hey, Matt, I got a diagnosis for you," and I was like, "Okay, hit me." And he goes, "You're situationally depressed," and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right. What do we do? Take some drugs, or what do we need to do to fix that?" And he goes, "Yeah, there's nothing we can do. I mean, you just got to fix that." And I was like, well, that's not very fucking helpful. I thought you were a therapist. He goes, well, I'm an intern, And he was like, but he said, dude, your life sucks. Like you expect to be happy, but yet you have a shitty life. Nothing in your life is good. So
it is up to you to change the shitty parts of your life.
It seems pretty unrealistic to me to expect you to be happy when you have nothing. You have no positive relationships. You have isolated yourself from all your friends. You have nothing that really fulfills you. So why the fuck would you expect to be happy? And I go, oh, well, that makes sense. And he's like, okay, so. And I was like, well, what do I do? And he goes, well, fucking go get something good in your life. Go do something worth doing. Like, stop, sabotaging all your relationships. I was like, that's some really good advice, dude. And that was it. And I walked out of that place, and I felt better. And I did make some conscious, decisions to to take some risks. I ended up shortly after that getting into a relationship that turned into my first marriage, that turned into my first child, and that led to a lot of depression and my second bout with whatever. But yeah, so I'm just saying, if you're in a situation where you feel like you need somebody to talk to, go fucking talk to somebody. It doesn't make you weak or silly or anything like that. It's important, but it's not always just for when things are going to shit. The other couple of times that I've been to counselors has usually been during the breakup, and I'm always like, and I think couples counseling is great, but if you go to couples counseling, if you're going to couples counseling because you're trying to manage a divorce, that's a divorce counselor. Right? You want to go to couples counseling if you're having issues in your relationship before you want to fucking kill the other person. That's usually a good indication of when you should go. So, yeah. So, second not sponsor is fucking counselors. Yay to counselors. Yeah. But no, I think that this sitting down and having an intimate conversation with somebody you like is counseling and is very important.
Absolutely. I don't get together with since neither of us have been working at the bar lately, like you and Cody, and I don't have Cody to do that with anymore.
Yeah.
So all the pressure is on you. So
Well,
if I fuck anything up or
yeah.
axe murder someone,
As you can see, I have these broad
fault.
shoulders. I can take it. So I don't know if you guys, if you're watching this, I don't know if you've noticed, but our studio has moved around a little bit. I actually cleaned up for a while, but the impetus for that was that I got this beautiful new painting from The Mandalorian. If you can't see it, it doesn't look great in the camera, but it's one of the original. It's not an original. Fuck, I'm sure that thing would be like 20 grand. But it's a copy of one of the original paintings from the
Sam painted it.
yeah. What's that called? The artwork, but what's it called when you do it for a movie?
Movie art.
Concept art.
Concept.
Yeah, it's a concept. It's some concept art from the from
man.
season 1 of The Mandalorian. And I just got that in the mail the other day from the Dr. Gibbons.
It is impressive.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I needed to move some stuff around to profile that. But yeah, I thought that was pretty nice. Just out of the blue, no note, nothing. Just a fucking Mandalorian painting, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
All he ever sends me are dick pics of other dudes' dicks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. I don't
Wearing
mean to,
Mandalorian helmets.
I don't mean to sound like I'm not grateful. You know.
You know what? That would. I should make up some little tiny Mandalorian helmets for dicks. Dress
a line of Mandalorian prophylactic.
yeah, like we could.
This is the way.
Yes, and like we could be, the tagline could be something like protection that really protects.
Except you get your really loyal Mandalorian condom users, and they would never take it off.
Right. That would. Well. Except around other Mandalorians.
That's one of those like nerdy little tangents, that nerds like us are prone to. It's like superhero genitalia. Just those things that you're like, oh, yeah. Then you're like, oh shit, really? Did we just talk about that? But yeah, we did. It's funny, and we're nerds, so we can do stuff like that.
Yeah. Pretty excited about season 2 coming out.
I'm gonna watch it.
What are you not excited about? I haven't been following too much. Just
I don't like. I'm not in love with it. Like it's okay. I saw a meme today, and it was actually I think Becky Lynn posted it.
Okay.
And it was the Mandalorian is a better space western than Firefly. If you don't believe me, just watch season 2.
I get it. It took me a second because Firefly got canceled after season 1.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Now here's the deal. This is why that's
okay. So you are negativity about the Mandalorian because somebody compared it to fucking Firefly.
No. It's just not as good as Firefly. It's okay. It's good. I'll watch every episode. Maybe even more than once. But it's it's not. It ain't all that. Now, the reason that it having a second season doesn't have anything to do with how good it is Vanderpump Rules on MTV has been on for 8 seasons. Jersey Shore was on for multiple seasons. The Bachelor has been on for many, many seasons. There's garbage out there that stays on TV year after year after fucking year, and great shows that get axed immediately. No, I'm not saying that The Mandalorian is garbage. I'm just saying that doesn't mean a goddamn thing. It was a joke.
Panties.
I was salty.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Because you are such a Firefly bitch you can't.
I am.
Now, as we have talked about so many times in this, I am not a Firefly bitch. I get kicked out of the geek club when Firefly comes up.
Man.
I just never got into it. And I think it was because I watched, partially because I saw Serenity, the movie, before I watched any Firefly. But even so, I tried to go back and watch it, and I just wasn't in. But that's okay. Like, But
Yeah.
the Firefly's okay. I
Just
wish
because you're a
it
nerd
were.
doesn't mean you have to like every piece of nerd programming that they throw at you. I am not excited about WandaVision.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the Vision and Scarlet Witch TV series on Disney.
Okay.
Not excited about it. Don't really care about those characters.
Is the guy who plays Vision the guy from Avengers? The
Yeah.
Oh well, I really like him. So.
I mean, yeah, I like him too, and and again, I'll watch it, but I'm not, whatever. Like, I'm not excited about it. There's just, you don't have to like every nerd thing that people throw out there. Like when people find out you're a nerd, they're like, "Oh, sweet, you must really love Star Trek." Which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because I can take some, I can leave some. But yeah, The Mandalorian. Yeah, they left off at a good spot. I'm excited for this first episode.
I am really excited, and mostly there's lots of reasons. I just love the show, but
I might like
really
it more as it
fucking
goes
excited
on.
about Ahsoka, because like she's by far my favorite hero in the Star Wars universe, and if you don't know what I'm talking about. Then you aren't a fucking geek, man. You aren't a Star Wars geek. You gotta go and watch the Clone Wars, because that is probably right now, as of right now, the best Star Wars there ever was. That is the best, yeah, hands down, the best. So I'm really excited to see her in real life. To see a live action version of her.
Played by Rosario Dawson.
Yeah,
Dope.
yeah. Which
That's awesome.
seems like a good fit. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. So I was actually just talking to Pates about it.
Gina Carano is back on.
Yeah, Gina Carano.
That's cool. Carl Weathers.
It's got a great cast. I think they're gonna do great. I was just talking to Pates the other day, and I miss that little shit. I don't talk to him as much as, well, obviously as much because he's not living 20 feet from me now. He's shacking up with Logan, the two brothers. My God, it's a mess. But I was just talking to him the other day briefly, and he's like, "Hey, new Mandalorian's coming out," and I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm really excited." And he goes, "So Wednesdays?" Because like we get together and watch it. Like I wouldn't watch it without him, and then so now I gotta whatever, a boy date with my boy. So he's gonna come over and watch Mandalorian. Yeah, so great.
That was taking me someplace. What the hell was I going to do? Damn it. Nah, I forgot. I'll get back to it. I'll circle around.
Okay. So since we're on shows, a couple other ones that I've been that I've watched in our interim. Did you see Utopia at all?
I've been meaning to start that because I thought it looked pretty good. I thought it looked pretty smart. But I haven't really started yet because I've got so many things that I've been watching. I rediscovered my love for The Walking Dead.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I've yet to finish the last season that was out, but I've had my ups and downs with The Walking Dead.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of shit. There's for a couple of seasons there, I just wasn't feeling it. Like watching those. Like I think I just bailed out on it and watched them later, and But now, now that I just burned through season 10.
I don't even know what. Give me a reference. What happened in season 10?
Season 10 is the newest episode.
Oh, okay.
Is the newest season.
Oh, well, then don't tell me how it ends.
And because season 9 ended with their uneasy peace with the Whisperers.
Yeah, and didn't Rick is gone.
Yeah.
At this point, yeah.
So season 10 came out, and they put out half the season. Then they put out a bunch more episodes, and then several months later they put out the season finale, which actually earlier this month.
Okay.
And so and season 11 is going to be the last season.
Okay.
last season for the actual Walking Dead.
And then
But there's
they'll.
two spin-offs running right now. There's Fear the Walking Dead, which I also watch, and then there's The World Outside, or some, I believe, which is a like a teenage version. It's really bad.
But it takes place in the same universe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, some of the characters are interchangeable with some of the spin-offs. I haven't seen anyone from like I'm only three. Like there's only 3 episodes out of the World Outside. Or, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope that's the name of it. But it's about some teenagers that were raised in like a community, like a college campus that had been like walled off and shit, and they're part of a. They have an alliance going with a couple of other like city states, basically, including the people that took Rick.
Mm.
But and there's more spin-offs on the way. There's the Rick Grimes movie or movies. I've heard one movie. I've heard 3 movies. I've also heard. Oh, there's also, and this is a for sure, a Daryl and Carol series. So those two
But that's a
characters are going to
porno.
go off on their own. One can only hope.
They have an interesting. So I don't know. I'm not a Walking Dead fanatic. Like I've watched most of it, on and off. And I have said I will never watch this fucking show again several times.
Like when they killed what's his name? The one that everybody was mad about. What the hell was his name? Glenn.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one wasn't good. Fuck yes, I was so mad. A couple of things though.
People were more mad about that than they were about Ned Stark getting beheaded.
Dude, it was hard. I mean, like, so part of the reason why the show writers do a pretty goddamn good job. First of all,
It's a
Glenn,
fucking well done show.
we already thought Glenn was dead. Right?
Yeah.
So they did the whole thing where Glenn died. You couldn't fucking believe it, right? Because he's one of the main characters, and fucking goddamn it, people should not be reading Martin. Like, you can't just kill everybody and expect people to still. And then, lo and behold, the motherfucker survived, and you're like, that crafty little bitch, And he's just one of your favorite characters. He's been around the whole time. He started out as a pussy, and he's become such a badass. And then you got then Negan fucking bashes his head in with a goddamn baseball bat in front of you, and it's fucking gruesome, and you're like, how is he gonna survive that as his fucking eyeball pops out of his head? You know what I mean? And you're like, and I was like, I am done. Fuck you. I am done. I don't want to watch a snuff.
Playing with my emotions.
Super bad. So I think part of the reason why Glenn hit us so bad was that they killed him, brought him back, and killed him
Yeah,
again.
it was a really vicious setup.
Sneaky motherfuckers.
And I mean, we're not talking like I mean, that was like one season to the next. Like there wasn't a lot of time in between.
No, yeah, it was. I think it was within the same season even.
They fucking
Really bad. And then Negan is that, like, just I mean, what a fucking horrible person. And yet, as the show progresses, like all good shows do,
put him on a Jamie Lannister arc.
you put him on a Jamie Lannister arc, and Negan is actually kind of one of my favorite characters at this point. Even though I'm not completely finished with it, I have a semi-serious question for you. Can you eat zombie?
Animals do, and whatever, but I'm a little confused about, like, is it something in the salivary glands? Because like scratches don't, you can get scratched by a zombie and not contract whatever the fuck it is. But if they bite you, then okay.
But and we are specifically talking about in the universe of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Peyton and I have discussed this at great length. And his concept is that the bite of a zombie is poisonous, and you die from the bite of a zombie. So it's basically something equivalent to like a kimono dragon's bite, right? Because a kimono dragon, if they bite you, you're fucked. But it's not even so much that the bite that they're not even venomous. They actually are. They actually have such horrible bacteria in their mouth that it basically is almost 100% fatal. And he thinks that's what's going on with a zombie bite. That it because they're dead. There's no they couldn't have like a poison gland like a cobra or something.
Yeah. You
So
don't die and
it's
develop a gland.
it's just that their mouths are so riddled with bacteria of some sort that that's what actually kills you. That's why they get so super infected and you die. But that doesn't turn you into a zombie. That just kills you. What turns you into a zombie is the fact that everybody is a zombie. Because that's the land of the Walking Dead, is that the actual zombie
I remember when it became
virus.
airborne.
Yeah, well, yeah. Remember when what's his face, the Punisher dude, Rick's best friend who was screwing his wife. When and Rick ends up shooting him, and then he pops up and turns into a zombie, right? And that's when you first realize that, oh shit, everybody has the latent zombie virus, and death is the fucking trigger, right? So it really doesn't make any difference if you get bit by a zombie and you die, or you get or you cut your wrists and die, and you still are turning into a zombie. So I think that's I thought that was actually pretty good thinking from Peyton's part. So logically, he said that you can totally eat zombie meat because nobody turns from getting zombie blood in their mouth, because fuck if that happened,
Yeah, it's
and
everywhere.
it happens all over the place. It happens all over the place. So there's nothing contagious about them. Though he did think that if you got zombie saliva in your mouth, you might be fucked.
Well, I've been wondering about, I think about that kind of thing too. Mostly because I'm, trying to plan ahead, and I keep a lot of barbecue sauce around because I
Right.
figure well, people are being chased by zombies, with the right amount of barbecue sauce, I will chase down herds of zombies.
Well, so that when we were talking about this is back when we were doing we did our episode Survive and Thrive, but we had plans for more, and we were considering this taking place in the world of zombies. So this is so after talking about this was like what he was so we had this this scene that we were going to shoot all set up, and remember, this is a long time ago, but remember the premise of this is that Peyton is basically teaching people how to survive the zombie apocalypse. So he's like a kid who is in the zombie apocalypse, and he's going to go out and teach you how to survive it. And he's got like a fucking YouTube channel, even though there's no YouTube anymore, but somewhat you got to take some leaps, baby.
Yeah.
So he's talking to the camera, and in this episode, he's showing them how to make I think it's called it's something like a Scandinavian cook stove or something to that extent. But basically what you do is you take a log and you split it into 4 pieces, and then you pull those pieces apart, about a half an inch apart, and then you take little kindling and you put it down in between the 4 pieces, and then you start the fire, and the log burns from the inside out, and then you can cook on top of it. Okay, it's a really awesome little survival trick. All you need is an axe and a piece of wood that is flat on both sides, which is kind of tricky to get. So it's nice if you also have a chainsaw, but whatever. Anyway, so he's teaching us how to make that, and in the meantime, he's talking about whether or not. Now, we never shot this, but we scripted it out pretty well. He's talking about whether or not he's like, and I've been thinking about it, and I'm running pretty fucking low on food. I'm thinking about whether or not you can eat zombie, and then he goes through the whole logic that I think you can, because, man, if zombie blood it would kill you. I mean, I am fucked because I have had zombie blood all over me, and I never fucking got sick or turned. So I'm thinking I'd be all right if I ate it. And then so he gets the stove going or whatever, and then he has this. We go to Cub Foods and we get a chunk of meat but it's and so he's chopping up his meat and he's putting it in the frying pan and frying it up, and then he's like, so I figured well, may as well give it a try, and then he like picks it up and he's gonna put it in his mouth. He goes, well, I'm not a fucking idiot, and then he goes over and we didn't have the person.
Oh, the girl.
Have a girl
Yeah.
girl tied to a tree, and it would like I don't know, big breasties, and have a T-shirt that says "vegan for life," and then he'd pull a little thing down. He'd be like, "Open up," and then in another episode later on, as kind of an aside, he was going to meet up with some traveler, and he was going to ask the traveler if he wanted some jerky, and the guy'd be like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I'd love some jerky. I'm starving." So he'd give a big old piece of jerky, and the guy'd say, "God, this is fucking good. What kind of jerky is this?" And he goes, "Fred." It's Fred jerky. So conceptually, he thinks he can eat zombie. So I think The Walking Dead needs to take on this subject.
Yeah, if you're gonna have like 4 spin-offs, I think you've got room for it somewhere. Fuck.
Actually, that's one of the things. One of my main complaints about The Walking Dead, and also I think one of their most missed opportunities is they really could have worked in some actual good survival advice.
True.
Because when those guys are running around doing whatever, and they're trying to survive, they just do a lot of stupid shit that would be.
And I don't see any science, like nothing has told me so far like why zombies' heads get so fucking soft.
Right.
So soft that you can like
actually that doesn't not make sense. Like they're rotting because they rot. So over time they're going to deteriorate. So yes. But the thing is there are scenes in there where the guy, like somebody turns and the chick's pushes the knife. Try to push a fucking knife through somebody's skull. Like, it's not a thing. Like, you can't do it. Right? I don't have a ton of experience with this, but I have butchered many deer, and it's really hard to just get through. I mean, try cutting up a fucking chicken, man. I mean, it's hard to get through bone.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, you're not just going to take a fucking knife and, like, push it in.
The
gently.
blunt end of your staff. Like,
yeah.
Stuff like that.
I mean, if they're mostly rotten, maybe. But not, not like, yeah. I mean, a freshly dead zombie should have just as much
and how does the
cranial
muscle,
integrity.
The muscle and connective tissue and stuff like that work when you've been dead for...
No. Come on,
like
we're talking about magic here.
Yeah.
We can't be. We can't go down that road.
No.
Because that's
Agreed.
not very realistic.
Agreed.
But the rest of it all makes sense. I would love to see more. Okay.
So what else have we been watching?
I wanted to get to Utopia. We had nothing about The Walking Dead. I don't want to. Okay, so Utopia is a
Walking Dead looks like Utopia to
brand
me.
brand new series that came out just a little bit ago on Amazon, and it's pretty interesting. In the beginning of it, it says like this show does. Though it deals with relevant current issues, is not meant to reflect our current situation, because it is about a plague, and it has some fucking crazy parallels, which is really nuts because the show was made
based on a graphic novel or something.
It's based on a graphic novel, and
which was written years ago.
Years ago, and it's very, very graphic novel-y. Does that make sense? I mean, and it is a really wonderful looking show. And I was watching it, and I don't know that I really liked it that much, but I loved the end of the first season, and I am on the edge of my seat for the second season.
Really?
Yeah, it had a fucking fantastic end. I really don't want to spoil anything. But there was a couple of times in the middle of it where I'm like, I mean, Meta always said I didn't like it. She's like, I'm like, okay, you want to watch a Utopia tonight? She goes, well, I thought you didn't like it. And I said, no, every time it's over, I'm like, this show is so fucking weird. Like I didn't. So I was like, but that didn't mean I didn't like it. And in retrospect, I actually really like it. Um, and the big star in it is fucking Gross Point Blank.
Cusack?
Yeah, John Cusack. And his character is very interesting, and I don't want to give too much away about his character, but he's like the only known person in it, and he's really great. But he does this thing where when with his family, where he says, "What have you done today to earn your place in this crowded world?" And then they have to like kind of say what they've done. And I found it very cool. So the other day we're on our staff, and my boss Maria, who we're a lot of like we like a lot of the same shit or whatever, and she had said like the week before that she had started this new show Utopia, and it's really fucking weird. And then in our staff meeting we ever like we at one person gets to like say something like, it's like a kind of like a let's have a little fun, so it'd be like, hey, tell me about your, what's the best pet you ever had or whatever it was. And so she's like, hey, who's got a good question today? And I said, oh, I do. She goes, okay, Matt, what? I said, Maria, what have you done today to earn your place in this crowded world? And she goes, oh, it was so good. And everybody else is like, what the fuck?
Now I've got
are
to
you
watch
talking
that
about?
show.
I really enjoyed it.
But I've been hung up on Kingdom on Netflix.
Oh, I think I watched.
About the MMA gym and the family?
Nope, that's not the one.
Well, so I've seen this around, but I haven't really started watching. I hadn't watched it. I was like, okay, this is probably stupid.
It's about an MMA gym.
Yeah.
Really?
So based on someone's recommendation, I decided to check it out. And it's fucking super good.
Really?
Yeah. It's not like, it's not, the way that when they focus, like if when a TV show is made about a certain subculture, they usually like to make it look more palatable. And
they're shit.
Yeah,
They
like
always
fucking
are.
like Sons of Anarchy, which was a fine, fun show.
If you didn't
like,
ever ride a motorcycle,
yeah, if you'd never been around bikers, and Sons of Anarchy was all you knew. Like, well, I wonder how many people have gotten the shit beat out of them, or probably just been fucking disappointed. Like, oh well, you guys don't seem like the bikers from the TV show. For
Actually,
one,
I
they
think-
don't look like it.
Actually, I think it's definitely more that way. All of the fucking bikers I know are like old, fat, and they have this like sense of style that is like, I would call it it's like Vogue homeless.
Yeah.
I think it's yeah. I don't fucking get it, man. I'm like, dude, what makes you think that looks cool? You're a 60-year-old dude with fucking head tattoos. I go to
Pull your fucking pants up.
I go to Caribou Coffee all the time. Like every day I go to Caribou, and get my Mousse Americano. Have to have it. 5 shots of espresso. And there's a big group of fucking elderly bikers that hang out there, and yeah, I'm like, if you got to spend $50,000 on a fucking motorcycle, you're not. That is, yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't the fucking Hell's Angels, man. This isn't the Hell's Angels.
Yeah. And if a guy looks like Charlie Hunnam or whatever, and is on a motorcycle, it's not. That show, if that's what you know about bikers, that show, yeah. Anyway, so that's usually what happens to any like subculture that they fucking, they pick. But this, they don't glamorize anything really. They like the lifestyle, the fight game. The fight game is full of surprise, surprise. The fight game is full of like kind of half-assed shady fuckers. Fighters are like there's a lot of a lot of head cases, like a lot of issues and shit, like you got to hold their fucking hand, and on a lot of stuff. I mean, the show, it was pretty fucking interesting.
Interesting Kingdom.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am actually kind of in the middle of looking for something because I just finished the last one that I.
And there's you'll like watching the show, you'll spot a lot of vets. A lot of
Yeah.
like
Oh,
UFC,
for sure.
Yeah.
So that means that means that they actually have some people involved that are really,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, and they don't talk about the UFC and shit like that. Like these guys are fighting for small
Yeah.
promotions,
Yeah.
and it's
And you're like, yeah, I've been there.
right.
Right. Like,
So
hey,
you'll see like
I recognize that dude. That's the fucking ring girl wrangler. Like I had that role.
man.
That guy's job is to make sure that the fucking ring girls don't go wander off and give blowjobs in the bathroom. And he's doing coke in the parking lot. Fucking that is me.
Fucking
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay, I'll check that out. So the only show
and there's a couple of really good actors in there too.
Is there?
Yeah, including I one of the Jonas Brothers.
Oh, I don't know who the Jonas Brothers are, but sure.
Well, they're like
singers or something,
yeah.
right? Okay.
Like these little pretty boys and shit. This guy obviously has dedicated himself to like his like acting.
Huh.
And like you can clearly you can also see that clearly like these guys are not like they don't have a bunch of scrubs in there that don't train. These guys all had to fucking train.
Huh.
Yeah, I think you'll be impressed if you check it out.
Okay. What we're gonna come right back. I'm not even gonna do a pause. I just have to turn that fucking refrigerator or my ice machine off. It's driving me crazy. So just right there, and we're coming right back. Okay, we're back. So that sounds really cool. I was trying to remember the. There's really only been a couple of not even decent MMA movies, but there was like The Warrior.
Yeah.
Right. Which was okay.
Which is pretty gritty and fucking awesome.
Pretty gritty. But I don't understand why they made such that movie is criticized by a lot of fucking like actual MMA people because it was so fucking like the actual thing was really stupid where they had the guy was fighting multiple times in one night and all that stuff. And it's like, why did you take a movie that had everything else going for it and then fuck it up with something that could be pretty easily fixed in the storyline?
Yeah.
But actually, oddly enough, my favorite MMA movie is Never Back Down.
We've talked about that before.
I think that movie is fucking great. And the MMA in it, other than a few things that are kind of there's one scene where this guy does capoeira and then gets punched in the head, which actually went viral because people thought it was real.
Real, yeah.
Which it was a fucking shot for a movie.
This is a U.S. Marine against this guy.
Yeah, all this stuff.
No.
But it was actually kind of a funny scene. It was really well shot. And one of the things I loved about that movie is that it was how well shot it was, because this was in the time period when like cell phone video and YouTube like was in its like infancy, and a lot of the movie is shot from cell phones, and then so like they would have the regular camera angle and then it would cut to cell phone footage. So then it gave them the ability to do some shit like that scene, which was shot from far away, that was grainy, but it was a cell phone shot. So it was like, yeah. So I thought they did a good job. Plus, the actual MMA in it was good. The actual, the MMA instructor was fucking spot on. And the techniques that they showed and did were really, really good. I mean, I kind of liked the message of the movie. I liked it. All in all, I give that one. What was back in the day when Phil Holbrook and I used to do a MMA show called MN Cage Buzz. We did like 4 episodes, but it was me and him. We'd sit around and we would like talk about MMA shit. We'd do a movie review and then we would give it a rating, and it was like I give that one a first round knockout or whatever it was. It was fucking super cheesy, but I had fun doing it. So speaking of martial arts, though. Cobra Kai.
Okay, have not watched it yet. I keep hearing great things.
So I I grew up on the Karate Kid and Karate Kid 2 and Karate Kid 3. I like it's funny because I was watching this fucking show and I kept on fucking crying. And Meta is like, seriously, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, I fucking miss Mr. Miyagi, right? Pat Morita and everything. I mean, it was like I was, you know, to maybe yeah, I was 10 years old, I think.
Yeah, we
82.
were
I
kids.
was 10 years old when it came out, and it's a movie I probably watched 50 times, and I mean I just loved it. And um, when I first started getting into karate, I was like 20, 21. And I actually, the first art that I ever did was Okinawan karate. It was Ruku Kempo. And the guy who was like the master of the system was Taika Oyata. And Taika fucking looked like Pat Morita. He was like a fucking short, like kind of chubby, like Japanese dude who like talked like Pat Murray, had this like spoke English kind of in a broken Japanese way and would say like really awesome shit. And he was like fucking cool as shit. And he'd like whoop your ass, Like he would be like, oh, okay, you come here. No, bam. And people go flying and they'd pass out, whatever. Now it was, now, I'm sure I've told this story before, but I did that for a while, and then UFC came out. In UFC 2, this guy who was a big time Kempo guy, Fred Edish is his name. I'm still know him to this day. Super cool guy. He fought in UFC 2 and he got fucking destroyed. And we were like, what? Like this was like a badass Kempo guy who would fucking break oak trees and shit. And he went out there
What,
and
do you get in there with a grappler or
yeah,
something?
like fucking Jesus guy and just fucking tied him up and like beat. And it, I mean, it's like a fucking bad.
I was
beating.
just listening to Joe Rogan field that question for the fucking millionth time. Like people like emailing him and stuff like, "What's the most effective martial art for like for like a real world application like a street fight and stuff?" And I'm like, dude, doesn't that like whoever sent that email? I'm like, don't you have any fucking tough friends anyway? Like, don't like isn't that shit like? I mean, it's pretty clear. I feel like
I don't. Well, it's actually an interesting
grappling.
question. I have. It's an interesting question. So, like, it depends so much on the situation.
Well, of course, but
Because
I mean, because of the high
grappling-
percentage of here's my like, which is the same thing he said. Because of the high percentage of fights that end up on the ground,
Yes.
and like, there's a lot of factors, but like just 9 out of 10 fights go to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So grappling, I'm gonna say like like wrestling or jiu-jitsu, same thing that he said. And you know me, like it's not like I'm on Joe Rogan's dick, like I don't fucking agree with a lot of his shit, but I think that's
I am on Joe Rogan's dick,
which is understandable.
whether or not he's wearing the Mandalorian.
Indeed.
God, that would just like we need to start a prophylactic company. It could be just a great prophylactic. Doesn't even have to like actually just have the helmet in the fucking condom. Man, it's a good goddamn idea.
This is the way.
This is the way. I have spoken. Okay. So I actually, obviously, am a big proponent of jiu-jitsu, and I think it is by far the most effective self-defense art in the world compared to anything else. But one of the problems with jiu-jitsu, and it is an actual like very important issue, is that it sucks balls against multiple opponents. Because if you're a pure jiu-jitsu guy and you
In that case, boxing would be, I feel like you'd have an edge.
So my opinion would be judo or defensive wrestling. So like wrestling, like kind of like the Chuck Liddell type of wrestling, where you're more focusing on not getting taken down than you are getting taken down, or like a Greco-Roman style where you're tossing people. because then you're in a situation like if a judo person was going to go against multiple opponents, you go against a high level judo guy,
You just get tossed.
you just get fucking tossed, and
Hard.
you don't even
Or not hard.
you don't even get you don't get to do anything. You just go fucking flying. So you got multiple opponents coming at you. If you are a high level judo guy and you could toss a bitch and toss a bitch and toss a bitch and toss a bitch into a bitch, that's very effective, and you take very little damage. Now there is another side to judo, which is called Newaza, which is the ground art of judo, and it's very effective, aggressive jujitsu grappling. So I mean, something to think about is that if multiple opponents, the last thing you want to do is jump to guard, because now you're on the ground and you have fucking 5 guys kicking you.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just like just a percentage thing.
Yes.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of shit. Like there's a lot of things a lot of scenarios that you can throw in there and stuff. But if you're like 1-on-1, most fights go to the ground. Grappling, you haven't. You've got an edge if you can grapple.
Yes. Yes.
And shit. I forgot what you were talking about before I fucking.
We're gonna get back to it, but it's Cobra Kai, motherfucker.
Cobra Kai, yes.
So again, loved fucking Karate Kid. Just thought it was one of the best shows ever. And I saw the new Karate Kid with Will Smith and his kid, and it was fucking. I like Jackie Chan. It was I didn't I didn't love it, but it was good. It still made me feel good.
I have never seen any Karate Kid movies after the original Karate Kid.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, actually, Karate Kid 2 was pretty good, but Karate Kid 3 was fucking really good. They go to I don't know, but there's a girl, and yeah, it's great. But Daniel's still there. Okay.
I was too busy with breakdancing movies at that time.
Breaking, not bad. So, Meta and I got done with Utopia, and it had a great end, and we were like, "Fuck." And I don't know if you ever get this, because maybe you have a list of ones that you're gonna watch, and I do too, for me, but like it's tough for Meta and I to find one that we are like that we gel with, and so we're like, fucking what now, and
sorry,
you go ahead.
We haven't talked since the end of The Boys, have we?
I haven't seen the last few episodes.
Fuck my life. Okay, next time.
Next time, because I haven't caught up on it. So I actually didn't. I got a little bored in 1 or 2 episodes, and then I was like, and then because I actually don't like that they do them in chunks, right? Because they do. What do you get? 3 episodes, and then you have to wait, or what is it?
I think they started off with 2 episodes, but after that, just 1 at a time.
Yeah, well, I fucking hate that, because then I don't. Then if I didn't like an episode, then I don't get around to watching it. So I think I have 3 episodes.
So you like the way Netflix does it and just drops the whole thing on you?
Give them to me, Mitch. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on board.
I actually think I'm gonna wait until the season's over.
It's over.
I know it is now. But I think will wait till seasons are over.
I try to do that,
except for the Mandalorian. Okay, God damn it, let me get back to this Cobra goddamn Kai. So I was like, no way am I gonna let you take a shit on my fucking one of my favorite fucking fundamental childhood movies, let alone like shit on the art that like got me interested in the martial arts. Fuck you, no way. Okay, we'll try one. It's so fucking good.
It really is.
It is so good. First of all,
everybody's loving it. I haven't watched it.
First of all, they have everybody. Everybody.
I watched. I only got as far as I see Johnny drives a Camaro or whatever.
I think it's a Firebird, but
okay.
So it is the story of Johnny, who is the guy who lost to Daniel in the finals.
Matt, everybody knows who Johnny is.
Not everybody.
They know.
With the
if they're watching this show, they know.
With the fucking crane kick.
That's
right?
Daniel, not Johnny.
Daniel kicked Johnny in the face with the crane kick in the finals of, and now Johnny, whatever it will be, because it's modern day. So what, 82,
50?
90,
50 something?
40 years later, maybe 50. Fuck, a
No,
long
no,
ass
40 years. But I mean, he's got to be like, Johnny
Oh,
would be like,
in his
Johnny
50s.
would be in his 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is Daniel. So Johnny, it's Johnny's life. Like what his life's like 40 years later. And it is so fucking well done that I am like, what the fuck? It's so good. It's so compelling. And it has everybody. So, Daniel LaRusso
Is
is
Elizabeth
in it.
Shue in there?
Okay, so I don't want to ruin anything.
Okay. Because I haven't seen, totally plan on watching it. And I've only got like 10 minutes into the first episode.
So Ralph Macchio, who played Daniel, he is like I am assuming this had to come from, but he's one of the executive producers on there. As is Will Smith, because Will Smith was actually like a fucking humongous Karate Kid fan and underwrote the entire the remake of the Karate Kid.
That's awesome. So that show did not take off.
Which
on
one?
its first season. This renewed
Kai?
interest in it. Yeah, that's
I don't
2
know.
seasons, right?
2 seasons, yeah.
And I don't think it really blew up in its first season.
I
didn't hear that much about
I
it.
heard a couple of people say it, and actually it was a guy who I go to the gym with who mentioned, he asked me if I'd watch Cobra Kai because he knew I had done karate because I was talking about doing ki-ing, which is when you go hiya, and I was like, yeah. He goes, hey, you watch Cobra Kai? I'm like, no, I'm not gonna watch it. And he goes, no, dude, it's pretty good. I was like, oh, really? And then anyway, it's so fucking good. It is so fucking good, and I don't want to ruin anything about it, but I do want to say this. If you have if you've ever had a martial arts background, you're not watching this for martial arts, okay? All right, you're gonna have to suspend some reality. Think about it as like dojo Hogwarts, okay? Because it's magic what they're doing, okay? Because like you don't go to a karate class and then be a black belt doing jumping, spinning back kicks, okay? That is actually just like a fairy fucking tale, all right? In order to actually get good at martial arts, it takes years of dedication and an enormous amount of work and more than just fucking waxing cars, okay? You gotta actually put some goddamn work into it.
And cinematic kicks will get your ass kicked.
But just set reality aside and watch this fucking show because it is fucking goddamn glorious. Might be one of the best, and they're short, half-hour episodes. So you can watch 6 of them a night. Meta and I was like, oh, okay. That was actually one of the selling points because we're always like, she gets up early in the morning, but I like to watch something before I go to bed just to kind of like, or else I am thinking about what was going on in the day. And I was like, oh, these are only half an hour, so well, I'll be good. So we can watch, and we never stopped at one. Never stopped at one. She'd be like, we can do one more. Okay, one more. I say we're getting late. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And I literally cried. Through the first whole season, I cried most of it. Just teared up a little bit. Just like, Daniel goes to talk to Mr. Miyagi at the grave. And I was just like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm fucking crying like this. It was awesome. So, yeah, highest recommendation I've ever had. I do think Utopia is worth taking a look at, too. But Cobra Kai, like, I don't like reboots. Obviously, we've talked about that. Nobody likes reboots. I mean, every once in a while you find one that they do a good job with, but reboots suck. But a well done sequel is so fucking awesome. And I think this is a well done sequel.
I have to Google. I want to get the name of this movie right.
Okay, well, this is some entertaining radio where we sit and watch you look at your phone. Okay, yeah, well done, well done. We need a Jamie. Did you hear Jamie got fucking COVID?
Who?
Young Jamie.
Jamie from
Rogan?
Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, I just read it yesterday.
So I'm oh, god damn it. I really want to get this right,
Well,
but I can't.
let's take a break. I got to pee anyway.
That's perfect.
We'll take a break. Kyle will do his old man thing, and when we come back, we'll talk about that. All right. Welcome back to Spitballing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy
Kyle Robinson.
And Kyle has done the Googling.
Man, so I found this movie that I'd never fucking heard of on Amazon Prime. And it's included, so you don't have to pay shit for it if you're an Amazon Prime video user. Yeah, which everybody is, I think, right?
You better be.
And high production value, great cast. Adrian Grenier or whatever, the dude from the actor dude from Entourage, the pretty boy. Yeah. Like he was in there. Ben McKenzie, who's been from Gotham and Gotham and Southland, and somebody told me he was on like I don't know, One Tree Hill or some shit. I'm sure Abby will. I think Abby knows who he is. But Gabby Hoffman, Carrie B, like all these, like the cast was great. And I'm like, damn, this seems like this movie should have been a big deal. The end, right? Is that what it was? I lost it. Anyway. Yeah,
watching old men use technology.
I know, right?
So what's the fucking show called?
The show, no, the end is the show.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, okay, the end, because my phone just like.
No, at least I think it is. Reasonably sure. Yeah, the end. And it's about. It's like it's basically The Big Chill.
Oh, yeah?
Done California prepper style. So this guy and his wife bail out. They have a great little prepper set up with like a little farm, solar power, all this shit. But they've they've stayed in touch with their college friends and stuff, and so they all like congregate there when this big cyber terror event goes down. That's accompanied by some bombings and shit.
Okay.
So I watched it, and I think this is another movie that the critics didn't love, but it was easy to watch because of the good actors and the high production value. There's a couple of laughs and stuff. It's all right. The only infuriating thing is this guy goes through all the trouble of getting he's got like a fridge like for medicine and stuff, he's got all of his he got so much of his prepper shit squared away, but not a single thought to security.
Okay. Bad choice.
Yeah, there's like all these people are like there's not a firearms enthusiast in the bunch. It's just
my approach to that, I think it's the wisdom of I think it's the Replacements, but the line in the song, I have the pistol, so I get the pesos. That seems fair. That's my approach to it.
That part of it, I'm like, oh, damn, like, I know you're liberal, bro, but nobody's that fucking liberal. Everybody
is liberal until, like, I don't know, just after the whole pandemic thing.
Everyone's a pacifist until you got to protect your shit.
Right.
So it's worth it. It's out there. I would check it out. Like I said, the cast is fucking great. There's There's a couple of laughs. It's a good show.
Yeah, and I even think when people like fuck shit up in shows, it gives you the opportunity to be like, oh yeah, well, I don't want to be that guy.
Well, yeah, and and it's a good movie overall. But I start watching it, and like right away, like the opening credits start, and I'm like, motherfuck. Like atmosphere, really? Like first song in the movie.
Oh,
The
sweet.
soundtrack is pretty good.
Oh, that's cool.
But the very first song is an atmosphere song. And
Atmosphere. Yeah, man.
yeah, so like, it was pretty decent overall.
Cool.
So yeah, there's that.
So speaking of the end of times, you brought in your little, what do you call it, get home bag?
Yeah. I don't have a bug out bag. I'm still, I'm still learning about that shit.
So, for a future episode, I think we should. So we'll need a little time because we need to prepare. But I feel like we should do a show about our bug out bags and show what we have in our bug out bags and so on and so forth. I actually just listened to a really interesting podcast, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts lately. I found Stitcher has a bunch of like Stitcher only proprietary podcasts now, and that's like the whole they acquired the Joe Rogan Experience, and there's been a lot of drama about that.
Fucking I guess
the fucking
some fucking snobs walking off the. I
well,
I shouldn't talk shit. I don't know
so
the whole story.
Well, here's the story. There are some employees at Stitcher that are upset with Stitcher for having Joe Rogan on because he says and does shit that they find reprehensible.
Because he's nice to people that they don't like.
Yeah,
I saw some shit like he had dude from I guess people were. I know that people were upset that he had dude from the God, who are those cunts? Proud Boys. So he had a dude from the Proud Boys on or whatever.
Maybe I didn't know that part.
Like way before, like
Yeah.
he started the Proud Boys or whatever, and now people are like, "Oh, you had this fucking white supremacist on." Now this is, if I'm not mistaken, this was a thing, and they were like, "Well, I had a conversation with a guy before the fact, and he didn't talk about that. Like I had him on for other reasons. We talked about other shit, but like." Whatever, like I'm gonna have whoever I want on,
and Joe, like, is Joe. I mean, he's gonna talk to whoever he wants to talk to. The big thing was Alex Jones. There was an old Alex Jones one, and they were like, and Stitcher,
which is silly because Alex Jones is a cunt, but whatever.
He's a total cunt.
That was a fucking funny episode.
It's one of my favorite episodes ever.
Like how many memes came from just that one
Alex
episode?
Jones and Eddie Bravo, and Joe Rogan,
and they're fucking wasted.
And they're wasted. And Eddie and Alex are fucking screaming at each other, and Joe is just giggling like the entire time. Honestly, if you want to see, type into YouTube, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan cartoon, and it's fucking hilarious. It's like a 5-minute segment of it that is animated. And I just laugh so fucking hard. It's so fucking funny. Because Alex is like, dude, I gotta pee. And Joe's like, oh, okay, man, go pee. And he won't go. And he keeps on, they're yelling back and forth. He goes, don't you have to piss? He's like, yes, I've had to piss for half an hour. And he just is yelling. It's fucking so goddamn funny. Anyway.
I hate how much that guy looks like, man.
But Stitcher, and they didn't put that out. Anyway, but, yeah, so basically this is becoming a big drama thing that they're trying to like edit Joe Rogan. Joe's like, nobody's even mentioned it to me, so fuck, I'm just doing whatever I'm doing. But it led me to Stitcher, and they have a whole pile of podcasts that are Stitcher only podcasts that are really fucking good. And I've been listening to this one about it's called How to Save the Planet, and it's a podcast that is basically about climate change solutions, and it's just really well done. But they did an episode about preparing for catastrophe, who knows what that catastrophe is, and preparing your go bag. And which this is a pretty fucking, it's a Gimlet Media, which is it's a pretty mainstream podcast, and they were talking about fucking preparing your go bag. You know what I mean? And like giving you some really great resources. And like there's a government website that gives you like advice on
Oh,
what to take.
like
And
FEMA's got a couple
FEMA
of
has,
lists, like stuff that you should have around. And this is not for preppers. This is for fucking
well,
everybody.
that was essentially what they were saying is that like everyone should have a go bag. Not just because you're a prepper, but just because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So let's say this situation in Minnesota. Let's just say a fucking we're coming into winter. So let's say we have like a fucking horrible ice storm and the fucking power grid goes down and it's gonna be down for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
A week, 2 weeks.
It's Minnesota. It's 40 fucking below. You can't survive. So we gotta go. You gotta go. Or you gotta have a backup plan. So it's just thinking about what you would do if that situation came about. And that maybe isn't a great example because you probably, I mean, it's not like you don't have any time. Because I mean the power goes out, you're like, fuck, the power's out, but you're not freezing to death in the next. So you have time to gather your shit. But what if it's a little more than that? What if there was some kind of civil unrest as well?
Well, I mean, we live in a place.
You have 15 minutes to get the fuck out of your house. With what do you take? Well, it would be nice if you already had a bag packed, and that bag had in it essentially what you need, and then you grab the other things specific to that situation. So what goes in the bag? So my challenge to you is to have your go bag ready, and we'll figure out when this is gonna be a future episode. And I'm gonna have my go bag ready, and we're gonna go bag compare, and then you guys get to vote on who has the best go bag. And I know I have it, so it's fine. It's no big deal.
And see, that's and that's cool because like go bags are really like that's not something I've been focusing on. Focusing on learning how to talk.
Yes.
So I've been just focusing on like hunkering down.
Yeah.
And
which is another interesting thing because
and for our area, like as long as you still have like electricity and heat, like shit like that, like it's a lot more because of where we live. Like if I lived in California, I would have a go bag.
Yeah,
like that would have been where I started.
It's like the possibility of having a wildfire, like
all kinds
rage
of shit.
across
Yes.
your area, is a realistic possibility.
If I lived in a big urban area, I'd have a go bag. If I had, like there's a lot of, like us living in a small town and shit like that. Like I think sheltering at home for most instances is a better idea, but you never know. So it's got to, like that's why I haven't placed a really high priority on a go bag yet. A bug out bag. I've been focusing on bugging in, but it's on my mind because the bag that I brought today is like what I use for my get home bag.
Right.
If I'm out of town or something.
And that's another thing is that, yeah.
So that's, like I've got, so all this stuff is, shit that I think about. But and I'm trying to approach it with a balance, like, using like the rule of threes and shit like that, just keeping stuff like that in mind. You can survive for air without, you can survive without air for 3 minutes. You can survive without shelter for 3 hours. You can survive without water for 3 days. You can survive
3 days.
Yeah, apparently.
Holy shit!
But this is just based on
you can survive without food for 3 fucking months.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can survive without food for a long, So,
but I didn't realize you could survive without water for 3 days. But you shouldn't.
No, it's a terrible idea.
Yeah. And it's water's the most is one of the, especially in our area, is the easiest one to solve. So don't be a douche.
But but I mean, depending on depending on the situation, depending on the disaster and stuff like that, you still need to think about like water purification and things like that. We have water towers here, so right. I mean that's nice. But I'm still gonna get that big bathtub bladder thing.
Yeah. Well, so but you accept the challenge?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Good, because I think
That's
everybody should
great.
have a go bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and you
Mine's
should
just gonna be ammo. It's gonna be 9mm, 223, and fucking 12 gauge shells.
So leading into that, this is something. Talking about guns. So, so this is my Glock 22, my Glock 22, which is a 40 caliber Glock 22. Not loaded. Here. Boom. This is my new purchase. It's a Glock 17. Pretty nice. Would you like to do the honors?
What?
Badass.
I like it. I like it.
So, but yeah, I wanted to compare the two here. This is an empty clip, but feel the difference between these two.
Man.
Man, I forget that your arm is that bad. Man, hopefully the end of times holds off for another week or two.
I know. I need that shit to heal up fast. I can't even shoot my rifle.
Pretty remarkably the same, huh?
Yeah.
Fucking weight and like everything. So this, I've been waiting for this forever to come out. So this is a Glock 17 BB gun, and it is a exact replica, as you can see, licensed by Glock, of the Glock 17, which is the exact same gun that I have, except mine's a 22, so it's a 40 caliber. This is a replica of the 9mm. So the nice thing is being able to train with this. It's like training with the exact gun almost the exact gun that I shoot in real life. Yeah, it's very nice. And the really cool part is you can just do it. You can just shoot it in the studio.
True.
Yeah, so I love it. It just came out. This is the Gen 4. So one of the things about this is that it's a full blowback. So like when you shoot it, the actual the slides all the way back, just like the real Glock does. The only difference is you don't get quite as much of a recoil, but you do get some recoil, as you can see. It actually like does push you back. And that's because it uses CO2 to shoot this back and actually gives you a bit of that recoil. And then the only other way you could really tell that it's not an actual, like 9mm or 40 caliber is that it doesn't eject a shell. So I am in love with them. So this is my second BB gun, and I think I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna just get a bunch of fucking different BB guns. But I looked into it, and unfortunately, they do not make your they don't make a good they don't make a Taurus 9mm yet, but that doesn't mean that they won't eventually.
Man, I still got to go buy that TX22.
That's the Taurus.
Yeah,
What's your 9mm? Is a Ruger.
Oh, that's a Ruger.
A
Yeah,
Ruger,
that's
yeah.
39.
That's the one that I looked at. But yeah, they don't make one of those yet. But we got to find you one of those. But they make just some remarkable replica guns. They're just so goddamn cool.
Man, I speaking of replicas, I was on this like knife this Blade Works website, and I was gonna send it to you, but man, they have like ridiculous replicas of everything.
Really?
Oh, all these cool like medieval daggers and shit.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, and of course the real thing as well. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out how practical like a gladius would be. I'm like, I need to order a knife, and I'm like, or maybe a short sword.
Yeah, I have talked. Pete and I have like spent so much time talking about like the end of times outfit and under what scenario. And but I was always like, katana, yeah, you know. I mean, if you get you got to carry, you got to carry a short blade for everything else, like eating and whatever. But if you need a killing blade, you really can't go
Yeah,
wrong with the
tough to beat.
katana. Yeah, and I have a pretty decent katana that I bought from Tharg back when he still had the sword shop. And it's not it's a high quality stainless steel blade. So so it's not a traditionally made katana, but I mean it's a weapon. It's not a fucking it's not a display piece. So I think I'd have to go with that. I mean, I think it just looks cool
Yeah.
carrying around a fucking katana. Yeah. So a couple other things I want to talk about. One I didn't mention was that last Friday, and I invited you, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, we went out of town. We went out of town that weekend because it was our to celebrate our anniversary,
Oh yeah.
and we had our anniversary. And on the day of our anniversary, we finalized the paperwork to adopt Boo Boo.
Yes, congratulations. I saw that. That's fucking
So
awesome.
he is now officially mine. I mean, he has been mine, but now he's official. He's an Amundsen.
Yes. Yeah, that's fucking cool too. It's weird giving somebody your name, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know when I got
I always I put that pressure, and and I don't feel bad about it, but I'd always tell my kids, like, don't fuck this up. Like, there's a reason I got my name tattooed on my forearm and shit. Like, I fucked up a lot. I fucked up plenty, and I fucking felt bad about like dragging my parents' name through the mud every time I'd fucking my name would come over the fucking scanner or some shit like that because I was up to some fucking jackassery. But no, and I'll give Boo Boo all that same shit. Like, don't wear my fucking name around and sully it.
right.
And of course my kids were great like that, but maybe that was part of it.
Well, probably. I remember when Jess and I got divorced, Peyton's mom, Jess, and when we got divorced, and we had a very amicable split up. Like, we agreed on everything, and it was good. My only sticking point was that she wanted to keep my name, and I was like, I don't think you get to keep it.
No, I think that's weird. I mean, whatever. Like,
I
can
actually
see.
think the taking of a name is weird, and I get that part. Like, and I understand why people want hyphens and all that. But it really bothered me that somebody was going to wear my name that wasn't part of that contract anymore. It didn't take her long to get remarried and get somebody else's fucking shitty name, so it was fine. Actually, I won't take that back. Christian's pretty great, so fucking your name is fine, Christian. But you
You told me he was a cool guy.
he is a cool guy. Took me a while to get there, but he is. Yeah. And yeah, but I mean that was my sticking point. Was like, are you serious? Are you fucking serious? And her justification was that she wanted to have the same name as her child. I'm just like, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I don't think you get to though. I think that.
Yeah, that should be up to the original. That I guess that should be up to you.
Yeah. I don't know. It bothered me. I allowed it, but yeah, it was what it was. Okay, that was not what we were talking about. Names. Oh yes, yeah. But I think that's super cool that you got to that the paperwork is finalized and doesn't change anything.
And and his birth parents were like my stepdaughter and stuff, very unselfish.
Yeah.
We were just in a we're just in a good position to be able to provide a good home for him.
Yeah.
And she's she's young and still doing her thing. And she was she was unselfish about it, which is not to be like nobody like I that cannot be. I cannot stress that enough. That whole thing, being unselfish about it, should not be diminished, because over the years, being a fucking party guy and shit, and being single and dating and all that shit, like you just run into a lot of fucking people, like I mean, no, I'm a great mom, Well,
Right.
oh, you need to your ash. You need to flip your ash is you're gonna burn the kid with your cigarette, and put your fucking so just maybe put your beer down, and take the cigarette out of your mouth, and then maybe hold the baby with both hands, or put the baby down, keep doing the drinking and the smoking, but all three at the same time is not working. And a lot of these people, everybody thinks they're everybody thinks they're a great parent and shit, but it's a hard thing to tell somebody, no, you're actually a shit parent. And then they fucking, then they go ape shit on you and stuff. And maybe it's not their fault that they're a shit parent. Maybe they didn't learn how to be a fucking parent, whatever. There's all kinds of things. But, for somebody to just be like, oh, this is fucking, this is hard, and I'm not fucking, I don't know if I'm in a good spot for this,
Right.
that is fucking, there's a lot to be said for that.
Right.
Because prisons are fucking full of people that were raised by, or were
Not
supposed
raised.
to be raised, by people that were unprepared, unready, uninterested, and fucking, that just felt like they had to power through,
Right.
or whatever. But yeah, appreciate that. Love my stepdaughter. And love that baby.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that
it's
is
a good
fucking
thing.
obvious.
But yes, so
And easy to do.
Yes.
But so last Friday, Drew Peterson, one of our favorite guests of the show, the marathon episode,
Yes.
he came up and played at the new Roundhouse Brewery, and my sister Shelly got a hold of me and said she was thinking about coming up to see it, and Meta was going to be out of town because she had her to-be sister-in-law's bachelorette party. And I said, "Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Do you want to be my date?" And by that I mean,
those guys are getting by on the cheap. By the way, having a wedding during the COVID thing.
well, no, the wedding's not until I think the wedding's not until May or something.
Yeah.
But they, she's like, "Hey, I was thinking about coming up to see Drew. Are you going to go?" And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, you want to be my date?" Because Meta's gonna be out of town. And by date, I mean my designated driver, because the new Roundhouse is out of town and I can't fucking walk. So, and she said absolutely. So we had a wonderful time. Went out to Dunmire's. Mike and Abby came and met us at Dunmire's, and then we went out and watched Drew, and it was a super blast. What the fuck did exactly I want to say about that? Oh, actually, I remember. Well, because it was about the high. But it was just fun to see Shelly. Great conversation as always. But it's so great to see Drew. And on stage, we start talking about movies. He's like, and he's saying, so what is the? So he's up on
Yes.
stage playing, and then in between songs, and I was like, oh yeah. And he goes, hey man, what's a movie what do you think is your most rewatchable movie? And I was like, oh, good question. And I never did answer that question. I was like, God, we got to have Drew back on because, those are good. He's got good questions. And
Man, well, and he's we talked we talked about music, we talked about this, we talked about that, but man, we really went off on our movies.
Westerns.
Yeah,
and
and it was fucking awesome.
It was very
his
fun.
perspective is
Well, yeah, it's super.
artistic people's perspective. I it's we're both fucking artist fucking groupies and shit. So
Yeah, it was super fun. And then I don't know. Did you watch the vice presidential debates at all?
I did not. I watched a second. I haven't watched. I can't watch a debate fucking beginning to end anyway.
Yeah.
I've watched a little bit of the first presidential debate, an even smaller bit of the vice presidential debate, and I watched just a wee portion of the last and final.
I haven't watched
presidential
any
debate.
of the last and final one. Meta sent me a link this morning though, and I'm going to watch that after the show. And it's the Saturday Night Live version of it.
Yeah, which is probably, I mean, is for all practical purposes, Why wouldn't you watch that instead?
I watched all the highlights of the first presidential debate, and then I watched the Saturday Night Live, and I was like, I can't tell the difference. I seriously can't tell the difference, man. But I thought it was pretty funny. Friend of the show, Ron Barons, posted on our Facebook that he would have done anything to watch me blast that fly off of Pence's face with my bug begone or my bug assault, and that cracked me the fuck up because that would have been fun. So if you don't know, we have a presidential election coming up, right?
I heard something about that. I don't know.
I don't know if it's real or not. And we've done really good not talking about politics at all.
Sure.
In this show, because
it
gets
for me like I already voted. I'm and even on social media I don't really talk about politics anymore because I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I not that I don't no I shouldn't I don't mean that I don't give a fuck what the result is.
Yeah.
I mean I don't give a fuck what I don't give a fuck about what stupid and morally reprehensible people have to say. So I don't I mean, and I'm not calling not everyone that votes for Donald Trump is stupid and or morally reprehensible. But they just vote weird.
All stupid and morally reprehensible people voted for Trump. That's not necessarily true either. There's
no, that's not true. But I mean, the people that I would argue with, like, what am I going to argue? Like, what's the point of arguing with these people on Facebook at this, especially at this stage of the game? So I've been staying away from that. I'll still post like memes and shit like that, stuff that I think is funny. And even then, shut the fuck up. So I don't even fucking engage.
As I've mentioned, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately. I know that sounds very abnormal. And I listened to a podcast. I don't remember what day it was. Friday, I think it was. And it scared the fucking shit out of me. I got done listening to the podcast. I started it over and I listened to it again and took some notes because it was like, I'm like, this shit is important. We need to talk about this and talk about it. Spitballing. I need to talk about it. Everybody I fucking know. It's important. The podcast is called Radio Labs. It's one of the greatest podcasts out there. Yeah. It's been around forever. It was a radio show, and it still is a radio show for WNYC, which is a New York City-based public radio program. But it has really kind of like, I don't know, become like the gold standard for what a podcast, like for what a journalistic deep dive podcast kind of should be, and they do such a great job. So many of their episodes have been like important to me, but I mean this one literally terrified me, and this is what it's about. So again, it's Radio Labs, and the episode is called What If, and I'm not gonna go through it all because it's a long and in-depth thing. But it's important, and I really, really suggest that everybody goes out and listens to it. But here's basically the premise. So this lady, her name was Rosa Brooks. She's a law professor for Georgetown University. Was at a cocktail party in like 2018 in Washington, D.C. And it's all gossipy and everybody, they're talking whatever. And she brings up the subject like, what would happen? What would happen if, like Trump loses the election and he decides he doesn't want to like concede. He doesn't want to step aside. And she's there with a bunch of like, big wiggies. And they were like, oh, no. Don't worry about it. That would never happen. Like the military would never allow that to happen. And she was like, really? I wonder if that's actually true. So that was what started the greatest role-playing game of history. Okay? So she ends up getting together a group of people. There was like 67 people, and these were generals, retired generals, lobbyists, people that worked in media, and like kind of like the who's who of like her circle, and it's a circle. You know what I mean? She's a law professor at Georgetown University. She knows some fucking people. She gets these people together, and this is during the COVID, and they do an online, there's really no other way to describe it but a role playing game.
Did they do some like a red team shit, like red team or?
Multiple. So they had one team that represented the Trump people. They had one team that represented the Biden people. They had a media department. They had a military. They had a, blah, 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 blah. Okay? All these different divisions. And then they had a team of judges, right? And the judges would basically judge whether or not whatever the team proposed was realistic. And if it was realistic, they would allow it. And if it wasn't realistic, they'd shoot it down. And if they didn't really know, if they couldn't kind of, as the team, as the judge team, come to a decision, like that could happen, it couldn't happen, they would roll the dice. Okay, and I'm like, fucking A.
This still doesn't sound as great as Dungeons and Dragons, but it sounds good.
I think it's pretty good. So they put out four scenarios. Okay, scenario number one is that the election has an ambiguous result. So they're not really, at election day, it's unclear who is the clear victor. Second scenario is Trump is a clear winner. Third scenario is Biden is a clear winner. And the fourth scenario, which is the one that I thought is the most scary, is that Biden wins, but only by a narrow margin. Okay? Needless to say, all of the scenarios were a shit show, okay, according to this thing. But by far, the scariest scenario for this team was the ambiguous result, and that is a very likely scenario for a couple of reasons. One,
yeah, if you look at polling right now and stuff, it looks like Joe is pretty far ahead electoral vote wise, but I don't believe that. Like, if we look back to where we were
2016,
yeah, exactly. We look back to where we were right now in 2016. I mean, it's like the same fucking thing, yeah.
And COVID has made that much worse because they so many people have done early voting. And
that's not foolproof.
I'm a strong proponent of early voting. I'm a super strong proponent. I mean, like, for sure. But in this particular situation, it's a little bit scary because you have all of these votes out there floating around that haven't been counted and won't be counted for a while, and so on and so forth. So honestly, what they were saying on the show is that the likelihood of an ambiguous result on election day is likely. That's the most likely of the four scenarios. And it will probably take a while, probably months, before a clear victor is figured out. Well, that right there sucks. That's going to make for the next couple of months be pretty shitty. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting. So in this show, they really looked most closely at scenario number one, and they kind of followed it through. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of lay out a little bit about how the scenario worked out, and then you're going to have to go watch it. So basically, in scenario number one, where it was an ambiguous result, the early election day results look good for Trump, which makes sense because not most, but many of the blue voters voted earlier, did by mail-in, and those on election day results, they look at the election day results. So up front, Trump looks good. So Trump's people put out a press release basically declaring victory, and Fox News declares him the victor, and they're good to go. And Biden's like, whoa. We got to count every vote. Like, there's no fucking way we're conceding when there's still millions and millions of votes out there uncounted. And so of course, the other side is denouncing that, and it gets pretty crazy. So as time goes on, what the Trump team decides to do is try to put pressure on red states with red governors to just don't worry about the vote. Just send your delegate, just elect or appoint new delegates and send pro-Trump delegates to the Electoral College. Now, can you do that? Can a governor appoint, let's say that a state, let's say Minnesota. Well, Minnesota's got a Democratic governor, so it doesn't the scenario doesn't work as well. But what's one that who has a Republican governor? What's the state that has a Republican governor?
South Dakota.
Sure, South Dakota. So let's say South Dakota ends up going blue, ends up voting for Biden. But the results are kind of ambiguous because of all of the whatever. So Trump says, "Hey, you know what, Gov? Why don't you just say fuck that and send your own delegates, appoint your own delegates, and send them to the Electoral College, and just don't worry about the popular vote." And guess what? He can do it, right? So now this is not solid, but it's possible, right, that certain states could just literally ignore the popular vote and send their completely own made-up delegates to the Electoral College. That's scary. So some of that shit gets going on, and this is called doing that's called a faithless elector.
That would not even count as a coup.
No, we'll get to
because he's
coup.
the incumbent.
Right. So that's called a faithless elector, and you would think it's fucking no way. You can't do it. Well, in 2016, there were 5 faithless electors. And they weren't people that were appointed by the governors. They were just people that basically said, fuck you, I'm not voting for whatever you're voting for. There's 3 of them were never Trumpers. One of them voted for fucking Bernie Sanders. The Hawaiian elector voted for Bernie Sanders, even though the state went for Hillary. So, and none of that actually made a difference in the final results, but it can definitely happen that you can have a faithless elector. So they did that. Okay. So basically in this scenario, it boiled down to 3 states, but the most important one was Michigan. Okay. And in Michigan, which has a Republican governor, this is in that scenario there, has a Republican governor.
I thought their governor was a Democrat.
Oh, you're right. Nope. Democratic governor, right? But is a relatively red state. So what happened in this scenario is the state was going for Trump, right? But there was a large amount of uncounted mail-in ballots, okay? And a fucking major in the National Guard, right? Who was a rabid Trump supporter, blows up a truck full of mail-in ballots before they're able to be counted. Okay? So, we don't know. We don't know whether or not Trump wins Michigan, which looks like he did, but then again, we have all these mail-in ballots, and there was definitely enough mail-in ballots that could have changed the result, and we can assume that most of those mail-in ballots were blue, but we don't know if they were blue, right? So it's just a fucking shit show. So what does the governor of Michigan do? He says, fuck this election, that we can't count it. We can't trust the election. So I'm just going to appoint my own I'm going to appoint my own Biden electors. So it's weird because Trump was trying to get that to happen and was successful in a couple of places, but it ends up actually being that that Michigan sends their own electors to the Electoral College. And now we are faced with a constitutional crisis. That's where I'm going to end the scenario. But let me just
send me the link because now I'm intrigued.
I'm gonna put it in the show notes even, but it's so good. And let me just I'm gonna stop the scenario there because I don't want to wreck what happens. But let me just hint that the military definitely gets involved. And here's the really scary point. that's not the only scenario. Now, they did a bunch of interviews, and like they interviewed 30 or some of the people that were on that team, and to a person, they were like, "Holy shit, I did not expect it to be this crazy." Like, we all knew that shit could happen, but when you start actually, what is that called? Wargaming. When you start wargaming a situation like this, it is really remarkable how fast it can unravel. And it scared the fucking shit out of me. Like, I think we may, and I don't want to be a fucking panic monger or a fear monger, but I think we may be facing a situation in the next, 3 to 6 months where everybody's fucking been throwing that Civil War fucking, phrase around, but there could be violence in the streets over, and not just like a little bit. I don't know. It scared the fucking shit out of me. And Radio Labs again is a very they are not fucking crazy ass anythings. They're a very reputable show. Of course, they're fucking lefty wackos because they're fucking in the media and on NPR. But
they have degrees and stuff.
Yeah, educated. But it is a very, very interesting. And when you add on top of that some of the shit Trump has said recently about not willingly passing, the fucking cape and scepter to whoever wins the election, it's even more scary.
The best thing that could happen
is he could have died of COVID.
That's also true. But the best thing that could happen is a Biden is
a blowout. Yeah, like that is, and they didn't cover that scenario. They covered the scenario, but they didn't really talk about it.
They might as well not cover that scenario because, like I said, I don't care what it looks like on paper right now. I don't care about the polling. I do not have a ton of confidence in that happening. I
don't know, but that would be the best case scenario. Is that on election day results before mail-in ballots are included or anything else, is that it's a fucking Biden landslide.
Yeah.
Because even though Trump at that point may not want to concede, he wouldn't have he wouldn't
have the grounds.
He wouldn't have a good legal.
He wouldn't
case.
have a good argument. Yeah.
Right, and we never think about it in our country, but the military has the final word. Right, like, all things aside, if I have the pistol, I get the pesos, and that seems fair. So the military ends up being the one in cases like that say, okay, fucking orange god, you gotta get out of power or we're gonna fucking take you up. Like, that's what happened, and
here's your eviction notice.
Yeah, but that situation gets very difficult if the fucking results are ambiguous. So that's my pitch, ladies and gentlemen. You gotta go vote. And I just ran into Trinity last night at 9th Street, and she asked me, how I was gonna vote, and I said,
she's pretty bitter about that.
She is. I get it.
I get it. I
get it. But Trinity had been on the podcast before, and she was a very avid Bernie Sanders supporter, and she is just disgusted with the Dems and thinks that Biden is a compromise. And she's right, 100% right, but it puts the Biden on the skin, or it
It's
gets
the
the
Trump
Trump
again.
again. And that is what it is. It's not a fucking awesome pill to swallow, but it's a
Yeah.
pill you gotta swallow.
Eat that shit sandwich.
Fucking right. So again, please, if you haven't voted already, go out and vote. Early voting is available. I'm going to vote on election day, and I want to vote on election day because I'm a little worried about those fucking election day results. But it's
It's funny. Like I keep. Well, I haven't seen any. I've been on Facebook less lately, but for a while there, like I kept seeing people talking about how like it's all Trump signs around here, all Trump signs around here, and it's true. I mean, it's not even close. Like the overwhelming majority of signs that people have up in their yards and shit are Trump signs here. Now, over the last few weeks, I've been to the Metro, and I've been to Duluth.
yeah.
I've been to Stillwater. I've been to went to Fargo, and so I kind of bounced around the state, and no place have I seen the support for the president that for Donald Trump. Like here in the Brainerd Lakes area.
Well,
'Cause
we're the
even-
rocks and cows, baby.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I mean, even like farm country and shit, I saw a lot of Biden signs.
Really?
Oh yeah, a lot. Between
So-
like as soon as I got as soon as I got west of Pequot, like it's all farms and shit between here and Fargo. A lot of big old farms and stuff.
Wow.
A lot of it was 50-50 if it was probably I'd say like 50-50.
But when you get in any metropolitan area,
Yeah.
it's pretty.
Absolutely.
And that's the way
but
Minnesota's
what
always
was
been.
really, but like in the Iron Range, now the Iron Range has slipped a little. There was I still saw some Trump signs, but the closer you get to Duluth, like the further east you get, like on the range, the more Biden signs, and then you get to Duluth, and holy shit, the fucking Biden signs are everywhere.
Yeah.
Like on up the North Shore, and I mean fucking everywhere, tons of them.
Yeah. I'm
and
not
then-
too worried about Minnesota. I mean, we've gone blue for many times,
Yeah.
And of course there's going to be areas of the state that are, but I am, yeah, quite honestly, and I've said this before, and but I would rather see Trump clearly win the election than it be an ambiguous result, because I think one leads to war, and the other one leads to just another 4 years of fucking craziness.
The actual idea of civil war really
Okay, and
like,
actually, I
find
don't
it-
I don't actually like the phrase civil war because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about civil unrest, like serious civil unrest, and that's not that unrealistic. If you think that's unrealistic, you maybe should have went and visited Minneapolis, shortly after the George Floyd killing, because it definitely can happen.
But yeah, I mean those back to those yard signs though. I could not cause driving around here, I found it unsettling. Because I'm like I was pretty sure that it was not that way. But I'd drive around and I'd be like, God damn, please tell me that the real world is not like this. And sure enough, fucking I get it I get in the real world. I mean, and by the real world, I mean, places where people finish high school and marry outside their family. And I was so relieved. But yeah, fuck.
So
this is the bastion. This area is the strongest support that I've seen in my travels in the state of Minnesota.
So in my day job, I work with, runaway and homeless youth. And one of my coworkers who has been doing the same work for 25 years, kid who I used to, guy, he's a man, who he used to do this work even back when I first started the Eclectic Cafe. And his name is John, and my ma loved him. And he and my mom would got along great. And she called him Big Black John because he's a big dude.
John is the one that scratched my cornea playing basketball.
Yeah, he's a big dude, well built, well put together, worked out a lot, and my mom loved him, and she'd be like, "Oh, it's Big Black John." It was just awesome.
John was also a handsome cat.
Yeah, he still is, but he does the same style of work that I do, and I don't want to out the company, but one of the things that we do is we go to places where youth gather, youth centers or whatever, and do shit with them or whatever. And in this case, he was getting them some COVID supplies, some masks, and other shit, hand sanitizers or whatever, and they and we helped him out with some food. I'm not exactly sure, and I'm not even gonna say where this place was, but it was a rural community youth center. And in appreciation for it, the director of the youth center sent him a bunch of pictures of the kids doing their whatever it was doing, whatever they were doing. They were having some kind of picnic party or whatever. And they were all holding Trump and, even better, Blue Lives Matter flags. They fucking sent this to Big Black John. And he has a great sense of humor, and it's not like this is his fucking first rodeo. But he was like, I'm not going to try to do an impression of him because he is originally from Georgia and has a pretty thick accent. And it gets worse the more you don't understand him. I may have told you before, but he has this like magic trick. If somebody is trying to like question him about something that he maybe doesn't know the answer for, he gives him the shimmy shama, and like you can't keep trying to get him to clarify because it turns you into a fucking racist. So he'll go like shimma shama 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 shama, and you'd be like, what? And he'd be like, shama shama shama, and you'd be like, what? Shama shama, like, are you a racist? Like, he never says that, but you can't keep like, are you even speaking our fucking language? I have no idea what you're talking about. And people are just like, oh yeah, that's great, that's wonderful. I'm just 100% then, I guess. I have no idea what you said. Anyway, super awesome guy. But he was like, yeah, that was a little disappointing. And those kids are great. I don't even fucking know if they know that this is hurtful. Like you're representing like hurtful stuff. And I don't know. It was like one of the first times, and I'm like, again, I've known John forever, and he's got some thick ass skin.
Yeah. He's been around here for a long time.
Long time. But
he was like the only brother in town for
years.
For a long time.
Yeah. But I was like, he was a little vulnerable. He was like, God, this just was kind of hurtful to see these young kids that are cool and whatever, and yet they're like toting around all this basically, whether you like it or not, kind of hateful shit, and not that necessarily Trump signs are hateful. I have a real hard time with that Blue Lives Matter one, especially, I mean, maybe not in 2016, but today it seems like it's a response to Black Lives Matter, and I don't know, just yeah. So I was disappointed, but I don't remember exactly what I was talking when I was talking about that. Oh, just Trump signs, just that, yeah. So that's a tough one. It's especially a tough one when you're working when you are not allowed in any way, shape, or form to put your beliefs forward, and it's difficult to mentor somebody in a situation where you're like, oh my God, you're a fucking bigot, And what you'd really like to do is just, sit down with them and go, Fuck is wrong with you? Jesus Christ. I don't do that. It's not my policy.
We don't endorse that.
Yeah. Not right now. Next time. Okay. So, yeah. So go ahead and get out and vote. The Kai Guy and I are talking about possibly, maybe, doing some kind of election night
something like that.
live. So if that's something you'd like to see, let us know. We will work on the tube technology. But one thing I'll tell you for sure, if we do get together and do some election night results, well, we'll definitely have to drink. And B, we won't talk about the election.
And if I am out on election night, then you'll probably get to see my get home bag again with extra ammo. We're deep behind enemy lines, folks.
It is true. It is true. All right. Well, until next time, we love you. Have a good night. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the podcast today. Taking you out today, I'm going to play a song by the band Dead Larry. I can't believe that I haven't touched on Dead Larry yet on this podcast, because I got to tell you, these guys are some of my favorite people to watch live. They used to play quite a bit at the Shine, and they've even been out to the farm on St. Matthias to rock us out there. They're so much fun to watch. And I really want you to check out this song. It's called The Fall. It's by Dead Larry. But go to their YouTube, go to the show notes and click on the link, because the video for this song is just fan-fucking-tastic. So thanks. We'll see you guys next time.
Someone like you, not someone like me. I never meant to be so irresponsible and laughable. Oh well, you see, the silver on the trees, it falls on us like leaves into the snow. That's where we go. Turn out to be a shining star of democracy.